I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. Today, we're going to take a saltwater tank and try to make it leak. Specifically, we're going to go after the seams with a razor blade to test the theory that you can make a tank leak with a magnetic algae scraper. Here's how this is going to work. I've got a brand new 20-gallon tank. It's full of water. I've got a brand new utility knife, fresh blade that's super sharp. I'm going to dig at one part of the seam on this tank, see how long it takes me to cut through it and to make this thing leak. Nothing so far. I'm just trying to take out some of the silicone so I can get closer to that seam. Until I get to that seam, I'm really not doing any damage on this tank because the silicone outside of the seam doesn't provide any structural strength. You've had a tank for years and years and years. You got an algae scraper. You've been getting the algae scraper probably too close to the glass. Yeah, it's going to wear this down slowly, so always keep your algae scraper away from the seams. Today I'm purposely trying to destroy this tank. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, big old chunk of silicone. I'm actually surprised how hard it is to even get to the seam. Maybe let's try some fresh blades. Safety first. That sounds horrible. It's like you're at the dentist, except it's happening to your aquarium. At this point, I've been scraping on this thing for several minutes, intentionally scraping on this tank. And while I'm scraping glass, this is nowhere near to breaking through the seam. I can still see the bead of the silicone through the seam or through the glass. I mean, if you were trying to do this to your tank at home, this would be very intentional. Someone's trying to sabotage what you got. And if you were doing this over years accidentally with an algae scraper, to really not be paying attention to your tank and not inspecting the seams to notice you're doing this kind of damage. I'm not even through this thing yet, and I've been going at it with a sharp, fresh blade. Well, we'll just keep cutting. Trying to get the blade between the two panes, not happening. I'm gonna have to give up and go at it from the outside. This is a 20-gallon tank, so this is probably 1/8 glass on this thing. Therefore, the effective seam is about 1/8 of an inch. Those of you with 1/2-inch glass tanks or 3/4-inch glass tanks, you've got a lot more surface area of that seam, so you've got a lot more seam to bust through before you're going to cause your tank to leak. I'm impressed that this thing is holding up as much as it is. I'm curious if I'm ever going to get through this thing and actually make it leak. I've now bent through 2 blades trying to get this thing to leak. No success. At this point, after an hour of cutting and going through a whole pack of straight edges, we still cannot make this seam fail. The tank is not leaking, it's holding water. So the thought of cutting through your tank seam with a dull algae scraper blade, not concerned about that at all. It would take serious, intentional effort for you to do that. Someone might say, well, I've had the tank for 25 years. You would have to hit the same spot over and over again with fresh blades to get that tank to fail. You would see that seam failing. I'm not concerned about that at all. Now, don't get me wrong, keep your algae scraper away from your seams, protect those seams. But in terms of cutting through your tank seam and making that tank leak with an algae scraper, if I can't do it with a straight edge, not happening with an algae scraper. I'm Mark Hallen, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com. I'll catch you in the next episode.